Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. If you're an executive director or a development lead at a faith-based nonprofit, you already know your work carries a really unique weight. But today, we're going to look under the hood. We're tearing down the 2026 benchmark data from 173 faith-based nonprofits, and we're going to look at the hard data proving that faith-based fundraising doesn't just rely on goodwill. It actually runs on a highly predictable, measurable engine that consistently outperforms the broader nonprofit sector.
So we have a really clear roadmap for you today. We'll be covering 1. The rhythm of identity, 2. The fundraising engine, 3. Compounding lifetime value, 4. Structural trade-offs, and 5. 3 strategic moves you can take back to your team.
All right, section 1, the rhythm of identity. Before we get into the heavy math, we need to ground all these metrics in the fundamental why.
To put it simply, faith giving is an embedded habit. I love this quote from Jacqueline Jones, who points out that for your donors, giving is literally an extension of their identity. It's not just a transaction. It's not just a knee-jerk response to a well-timed marketing appeal. And that distinction is absolutely crucial, because it creates a highly durable system where giving is a repeated practice, not an isolated event.
This habit forms what we call a rhythm. You're establishing a consistent cadence that, honestly, most other sectors spend years trying to engineer. This rhythm relies on monthly pledges, steady program-driven campaigns, and deep, long-tenured trust. And as we jump into the numbers, you'll see exactly what this rhythm produces on a balance sheet.
Moving to section 2, the fundraising engine. Let's systematically connect this behavioral rhythm directly to the mechanics driving your bottom line.
Okay, this right here, this is your spark plug. Gift frequency. It's a brand new metric in the benchmark report this year, and it shows faith donors give 4.68 times a year compared to the 4.15 sector average. Now that gap is significant. It means your donors are showing up for roughly half a gift more per year than the typical nonprofit donor. This is the quiet engine behind literally everything else we're about to discuss.
And here is how the dominoes fall. It builds a very clear causal chain. Frequency directly drives retention, which then drives expansion, and all of that compounds into a massive lifetime value. These metrics do not operate in a vacuum. They feed each other sequentially. Let's break that down.
Looking at that first interlocking gear, faith organizations retain 61.29% of their donors. Compare that to the overall sector average of just 54.73%. That is a direct downstream effect of that high gift frequency keeping the relationship active. Think about it. When a donor interacts with you nearly 5 times a year, the relationship simply doesn't have time to go cold.
And we can see exactly how you're retaining them so well. You are converting nearly 1 in 3 new donors to a second gift. That 32.63% conversion rate easily beats the 25.84% sector average. What's even more impressive is the speed. Faith nonprofits bring in that second gift in an average of just 106 days. You're locking in a behavioral pattern within the first 3.5 months of a donor relationship. Because these donors stay, and because they give frequently, we see incredible donor expansion hitting 110.62%. That means your retained donors are giving nearly 11% more revenue this year than they did last year. Expansion only happens at this scale when you have a deep, loyal pool of retained donors who are given multiple opportunities throughout the year to give just a little bit more. But here's the bedrock. This entire engine rests on the infrastructure of recurring giving. It makes up over a quarter of all faith revenue, 25.22% compared to the sector's 20.96%. These recurring programs lock in that high frequency automatically. It's brilliant, really. It turns intentional faith-based habits into systematic, predictable revenue. Section 3, compounding lifetime value. So let's zoom out. What does this well-oiled machine actually produce over time for your organization? The durable payoff here is a phenomenal donor lifetime value of $2,383.34. The sector average is lagging at $2,234.30. And the key takeaway here is that this lifetime value is not built on single massive checks. It's built on the math of frequency, compounding across years and years of retained relationships. It's the natural result of keeping a donor for 5 years and offering them consistent, meaningful ways to contribute. And the result is a remarkably healthy portfolio balance. You've got 11.5% of revenue from everyday donors, a very strong 24.44% from mid-level donors, and 64.07% from major donors. This kind of spread naturally absorbs year-over-year variance. You aren't riding entirely on the hopes of a handful of massive gifts, which significantly reduces your organizational risk. All right, moving to section 4, structural trade-offs. Look, every engine has exhaust, right? We need to look honestly at the numbers that sit below the cross-sector averages. It is incredibly important not to view every lower metric as a failure, but to understand it within the context of your specific model.
For example, let's look at new donor acquisition. Faith acquisition sits at 25.54%, compared to the sector average of 32.06%. Now, we need to reframe this. This isn't a red flag, it's a structural choice. When you retain over 61% of your existing donors and expand their giving by over 10%, you simply need fewer new donors coming through the front door to sustain and grow your operations.
It's the same story with the modest average gift of $141.96 and the average online gift of $108.41. These are totally acceptable costs of a high-frequency, high-recurring model. Just think about the math for a second. A $50 monthly online pledge counts as 12 separate small transactions. That naturally pulls the overall average down. So a lower average gift is exactly what you should expect when your recurring giving infrastructure is this robust.
Finally, section 5, 3 strategic moves. With all this data in your back pocket, how do you tune this engine without disrupting its natural rhythm? Let's look at 3 concrete operational moves you can implement right away. First, because the median gift across the sector is holding steady at exactly $50, your biggest opportunity for scale lies right there. Focus on moving thousands of your everyday donors up by just a few dollars. Imagine moving them from a $25 monthly pledge to a $40 pledge. That kind of structural upgrade will often yield much more durable revenue than relying purely on closing single major gifts. Second, while your lower online gift average is partly due to those recurring monthly gifts we talked about, you can absolutely still lift it by eliminating checkout friction. Bring in mobile wallets like Apple Pay and Google Pay. And crucially, use responsive ask arrays. If a donor routinely gives you $100, your default online form shouldn't suggest $25. Make sure you anchor your asks to their actual giving history. Third, capitalize on that impressive 24.44% mid-level share by building a dedicated track just for them. These donors so often fall into the gap between your mass automated appeals and your highly personalized major gift cultivation. They need intentional stewardship, exclusive updates, and specific upgrade paths to keep them engaged and moving forward. So just to recap, focus your upgrade efforts on the broad middle, ruthlessly improve the online giving experience, and build out a dedicated mid-level program. These 3 targeted steps allow you to optimize the mechanics of your fundraising, all while fully respecting the unique behavioral patterns of your supporters. You're working with the rhythm, not against it. I'll leave you with this final thought to take back to your organization. Is your fundraising strategy built around quick hits or long-term habits? As we've seen in the data today, focusing on those habits creates a predictable compounding engine, because a response is temporary, but identity endures.